No Pride of Britain would be complete without our Lifetime Achievement Award. Every year, around 1,800 children in Britain get the news that they have cancer. But for the last 30 years, one man has dedicated his life to raising money to support the fight against this terrible disease.
This is Eddie O'Gorman. 32 years ago, he and wife Marion had 5 children.
Every year we seemed to have a child, and we were very happy.
Eddie's youngest son was 14-year-old Paul.
I was so close to Paul, we used to go down to the seaside for the day. There was something very, very special with him.
But in 1987, their lives were turned upside down.
Paul hadn't been feeling very well. I thought it was nothing really. And then the doctor phoned me. He said, sadly, your son's got leukemia. I just could not believe it.
Days later, the unthinkable happened. Their 29-year-old daughter Jean was told she had breast cancer.
Jean was delicate, if you like. In many ways, she was like a mum to Paul.
Whilst reeling from the news of Jean, Paul deteriorated.
The day he died, he looked $1 million. There he was, dying, and he was gone. I could not stop crying, the shock of it all.
But Paul had one last wish.
Paul had said to his mum, make sure Dad helps other children with leukemia. Don't forget, Mum, I mean it, make sure you tell Dad. He couldn't bear to see people suffer, and that was Paul. So we started to raise money in his memory. Paul was the inspiration, but I feel privileged that he was our son, and he called me Dad.
Stricken with grief and with Jean's health declining, Eddie and Marion threw themselves into fundraising, initially for the Leukaemia Research Fund. They started with a grand ball.
Jean had been looking forward to that. She came to the ball. She stayed all night, and she said farewell to all her friends. She died 2 days after. If there was any doubt about our fundraising in the future, it was sealed that night.
Eddie pulled together all his business contacts, and his ball raised a staggering £100,000. Within a year of the ball, and with the support of Princess Diana, they upscaled their fundraising to become a full-time charity, and Children with Cancer UK was born.
I sold my business and never worked so hard. Now the time had come to start raising money to help other children.
Thanks to Eddie's passion, the charity grew, and by their 10th anniversary, they had raised more than £10 million, funding life-saving research.
People like Eddie have been fundamental to what we've been able to do over the last 30 or 40 years. We've come from a point of perhaps 10% of children surviving their cancers through to about 80% now. So if we're now curing 80% of them, the reduced impact on those families is huge.
Though Marion died 9 years ago, Eddie's work has continued, and he's helped fund more than 200 life-saving research projects.
I used to walk around looking at all those kids and thinking of Paul, and I always thought if he could look down and see what we were doing, if you like, in his memory, he would have a little smile to himself, because that was Paul. That was Paul.
Thank you, Eddie, for helping me save my life. Thank you for all you've done for everyone, for me, for other people. Thank you.
Thank you for the research you're doing into cancer treatment.
Thank you for making me smile even on the bad days.
I could not help my son. I could not help my daughter. But I know there are lots of kids alive today through our efforts. And long may it continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the extraordinary Eddie O'Gorman. heard you talking about the ball where you first raised money and Jean was very ill. Can you just tell us where that ball took place?
It took place in this very room.
Right here?
Right here. It was our first major fundraising event. The morning of the ball, we were called to the hospital. We thought she was going to die that day. Instead, she said to me, "Dad, I'm coming to the ball." She said to me, "Are you suggesting I can't come to the ball?" Anyway, she came in an ambulance, in a wheelchair, in a nightdress, with a nurse. She hadn't eaten for 4 weeks. She stayed, she sat with us here in the great room. She said farewell to all her friends. When we left, Jean went back to hospital and died 2 days later. I gave my business up and I've concentrated 31 years in doing this. Now, so far, money-wise, we've raised £230 million.
Eddie, it's wonderful to meet you, and we all have the very deepest respect and admiration for your work, and to say thank you on behalf of all the children whose lives you have saved with all the work that you've done. Please welcome Paul O'Grady.
Eddie, congratulations. You're certainly a man who keeps his promise, really. Your Paul must be looking down on you, and he must be so proud of you, and your late wife, and Jean as well.
Okay.
And so, especially for you, matey, there you go. The Life Achievement Award. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Paul. And congratulations, Eddie O'Gorman. Thank you.
And that was yours.